know, coming up in our lives that everybody has been a part of a team. We joined some kind of team, whether it was the Beta Club, the cheerleading, the basketball, the track, football, soccer, the debate team, whether we pledged in one of the fraternities. We was on some kind of team. But dealing with that team, you had to have teamwork. Even though that team was put together with different people, it still had to have teamwork. In hearing the story of Nehemiah, we all know about Nehemiah. Nehemiah was a cupbearer, but he was also an official in the government of Judea. But this is the thing. When we hear about Nehemiah, we talk about the wall, Nehemiah going to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. But we don't understand when dealing with Nehemiah, Nehemiah couldn't build the walls by itself. Nehemiah had to have a team. But with that team, it took on teamwork. We stand today in the church. A pastor, a preacher, a prophet, a priest, they assemble the church, but the church can't go together without teamwork. It is always easy to analyze and scrutinize and talk about all the problems of the world. We really need to be these kind of people that will not just discuss a situation, but who would do something about it. You see, Nehemiah heard about what was going on in Jerusalem. But hearing about it, getting in your feelings, but then God giving you a vision to go make preparation, to do something different. You hear preachers stand behind the book board, they tell you to write the vision. Make it plain. Well, God came to Nehemiah and he gave Nehemiah a vision. But you know, when God gives you a vision, God has already equipped you with what you need to go for your vision. You heard a preacher preach from the book board, he told you, you need to be entrepreneurs. But in being an entrepreneur, God had to already give you something inside of you to say that, I'm good at this. I can go and be great at this. The vision is already in you. But see, Nehemiah already had that vision. Nehemiah saw a problem. Nehemiah didn't just claim and he didn't complain or have self-pity. Nehemiah wanted to be a difference. You notice Nehemiah was dealing with his inner self, but then the king looked upon Nehemiah and wanted to know, Nehemiah, why are you so down? Nehemiah told him what was going on, but see, Nehemiah didn't understand that when God gives you a vision, God has already made provision for your vision. The glory of teamwork. What does teamwork have to do with Nehemiah going to build the walls? Nehemiah knew his calling from God. See, his calling was to motivate the Jews to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. But then if I ask you, what's your vision? What's your calling from God that you are running from? See, Nehemiah knew God can use his talents, so he wasn't running from his vision. Nehemiah got permission so he can go to his vision. See, when Nehemiah left, Nehemiah arrived in Jerusalem. When he got there, everybody knew why Nehemiah was there. See, God had already talked to them just like he talked with Nehemiah. He told them that I got something for you. I got somebody coming to lead the way. They say when Nehemiah got to Jerusalem, say he organized, he managed, he supervised, he encouraged, he met opposition, and he confronted injustice. See, when doing all these things, Nehemiah knew that he had to pull a team together. But in pulling a team together, he knew it was going to take teamwork. See, when a leader stands before a congregation and says, I'm your pastor, I'm your teacher, he knows that he got to pull a church together. He knows it's not going to work if he don't have teamwork. This is what Nehemiah was. The glory of teamwork. See, the thing about having teamwork is this. I want to give you a couple of things, and I want you to put yourself in the position of being on a team where you can tell me yes or no. I don't have the ability to be a teammate. It's the characteristics, effect of a great teamwork. It's a good communication. Can you communicate to be a team, to be a great team worker? Each member should be able to communicate openly with other members of the team. Do you have that characteristic? Do you have individual talents? Do you have that team sense of belonging? These are some of the things that you deal with when you're trying to see if you got that thing to be, you want to have good teamwork. Or you have strong leadership capabilities. Clear structure. But the most important thing is, do you have a positive attitude? Nehemiah had to have a team to do the teamwork what God called him to do. But see, one thing about being on a team, everybody ain't for you being on that team. Whether it's your rivalry across town, whether it's somebody else in the school that didn't make the team, they're speaking against you because they don't want you to be on the team. Everybody's not for you and your success. But the most important thing is, everybody can't be on the team. You know, when you were growing up, you had to go try out for a team. Now, when you try out for the team, you go out there and you put work in. You put work in. You put work in. Somebody stands back and they evaluate you on a scale that they've used to put the team together. See, when putting a team together, everybody can't play the same position. You can't go get a football team and have 75 linemen. You won't win. You can't go get a team. You can't go put a basketball team together and have 12 guards. You won't win. You can't go put a church together and have 50 leaders and no workers. You won't succeed. You can't go and put a church band together, but everybody want to be the lead singer. Won't work. You got to have structure when you start putting a team together. See, when Nehemiah went to put the team together over in Jerusalem, he knew he needed everybody's help. See, but within that team, I got to still appoint some people to lead different positions of the team. When you go to your job, everybody's not a manager in the job. Everybody's not a manager. You got from the CEO to the second level, to the first level, to the supervisor, to the employee. You got all these different levels to make that one team. But that one team doesn't go together unless you have what? Teamwork. This church don't grow if we don't have teamwork. You can't have the ushers up here trying to tell the ministers what to do because they don't want to do the usher's job. You can't go and tell the pastor, I need you to preach and play the drums. You got to be able to have teamwork, everybody working their position in order for the team to come together with the teamwork that we perform every week. That's what Nehemiah had to understand. But see, being a leader of that team, being the coach of that team, you knew you were going to face some oppositions. You were going to face some people that didn't want y'all to succeed. It's no different than what you do now. Everybody don't want your family to grow. No matter how you go and tell everybody about your family, they sit there and pretend like they like what you're saying. They respect what you're saying, but in the back of their mind, they're trying to say, I wish they don't get it. You know, I hope him or she lose that job. Since they got that job, they think they're better than everybody else. It's not that I'm better than everybody else, but it is what I pray to God for. Why should you have to apologize for the blessing that God has given you? You knew when you put your team together what it was going to do for you. You knew when you put your team together, this is what we got to do to succeed. When you put your family together, you knew when I got my wife, when me and my wife got together, wife and husband got together, this is our team. See, you didn't just create this team. I want you to think about it. Go back in the book of Genesis. Somewhere around the second chapter when God says it's not good for man to be alone. He said, what I'm going to do is make you a suitable helpmate. So when God made the helpmate for man, that became a team. But guess what? Everybody wasn't happy with that team. And if you kept on reading in the Bible, that's when it say Satan came in to bring distinction between that team. When he told Eve that won't nothing happen if you eat it from this tree. But see, God had already given instructions to the head of that team. But see, when you ain't connected strong enough as a team, that's when the enemy come in and he tries to break up that team. But see, Nehemiah knew what he was facing when he put together the team. Everybody wasn't happy with the team. Prime example, we all been talking about it. We talk about it every week. Deion Sanders with the Colorado Buffaloes. When he went there, they already had a team, but it wasn't the team that Deion had vision in his mind. So what Deion did, he went there, what he did was he opened the door and said, if you don't belong, you free to go. But once Deion let him go, then Deion started to assemble his team. He started with his coaches. He started with all the personnel that he needed to get his thing running. Then when they got together, they sat down as a team, and they started figuring what kind of players we need to put together to build this team. So the teamwork started from Dion and his coaches. But then when they started putting the team together, it came a point where we all assembled together. And this is what we need in order to have a great team. I need everybody to play their part. Everybody got to do their part. Everybody got to assemble, and once everybody assemble and put teamwork together, then we be glorified. The glory of teamwork. Nehemiah knew that everybody is against us in Jerusalem to build this wall. So what Nehemiah said was, I want this half to work on building the walls. But then I want this half to stand guard, to protect the ones that are building the wall. But what Nehemiah said, he didn't just stop right there. Nehemiah kept on going and having conversation with God. God, you told me to go and build the wall. He kept going back to the head coach, asking him, and going to him, telling him this is the plan. Then he go back. He go back and tell his team, this is what we up against. I need everybody to keep on working. I need all y'all to keep on standing on God. But see, there's one thing about working. Nehemiah said they worked with their right hand, kept their left hand on the fighting tools. But he knew there had to be a team effort in order for them to get it done. What is it that makes a man or woman stand here with their team but don't have no teamwork? The man or woman that stands behind the bookboard, that stands behind here is your leader, but they don't have no teamwork. They got a team, but everybody is in their own individual lane. No teamwork. We got all individual skills, but no teamwork. If you got a good baseball team, you got a great pitcher, got a great first baseman, second baseman, shortstop, you got a great catcher, but if they don't work together, you got a great team, but you don't have no teamwork. You're not going to win. Because the second baseman, he's out there for show, so he gets the ball, he feel like I've done my job. But he don't throw the ball to first. The pitcher pitching, but the catcher don't catch the ball. But the pitcher say, I threw it 93 miles an hour. I did my job. But the catcher's not on the same team. They're all individuals. That's why we are in the church today. We all individuals on this team with no teamwork. See, in the world out there in sports today, if you got a team with no teamwork, then the coach get what? Fired. See, but now in the church today, you know, back in the day you had to have a board that you had to go through in order to fire a pastor in the church. Well, those times have changed now. Well, you don't have to have a board no more because the pastor becomes the CEO. The pastor becomes the founder and the owner of the church. So when your team don't have no teamwork, the pastor don't get fired no more. He loses the church. Ain't nothing worse than being a great pastor. God sent, God fearing, but you ain't got no teamwork. See, and we think teams, and we just started putting these teams together. We just started putting teams together when we started having church. You know, you got the usher board number 1. You got the senior choir. You know, we got deacon board. We got the men's ministry. We got all these teams. Well, we think we just started these teams. But one of the greatest teams that ever been assembled was the team called the Trinity. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. See, God knew in order for the Trinity to work, they had to be a team, but they had to have teamwork for us to understand the Trinity. But God, the glory of teamwork. See, we think we just started teamworking. God showed you back then when he put the Trinity together that he had to have teamwork. And when you say teamwork, what do you mean, Elder? Glad you asked. Because God he told us like this. Through each person, the Trinity, we can get better understanding of what God is like. They believe the Father created. They sent his Son who saved. And the Son sent the Holy Spirit to his followers. So if you don't have teamwork, what is the Trinity if they're not together? The glory of teamwork. This is where we are. This is what Nehemiah was when he put the team together, but they all had to do their part in order to join together. But see, the thing about them joining together, they believed Nehemiah was there for them. Nehemiah wasn't just there for himself, but Nehemiah, by him putting the team together, it didn't just help him, but it helped each one of the people that was in Jerusalem, that was on the wall, because it gave them an opportunity to build their faith. That they are more conquerors in this world. They can conquer anything that they put their mind to. Even with opposition going on, they knew that they could just trust God, trust Nehemiah, who he has placed in front of them, to lead them, to keep them protected while they do their work. See, Nehemiah knew it wouldn't be easy. Being a pastor, know it ain't going to be easy. But he knew that God sent them for a reason. God told, but see, Jesus told us, Jesus told us, anybody that follows me, it won't be easy. You will endure the same thing that I endure, you will endure. So when you're at home in your marriage, it ain't going to be easy. When you at your job, at your workplace, it ain't going to be easy. When your kids are on these teams, guess what? It's not going to be easy. Everybody's not cheering for your son or your daughter to be on this team. We need each other, for without each other, inputs and gifts, we are incomplete. Nehemiah needed everybody to work. Nehemiah said, y'all work on the walls on this west side. Y'all work on the north. Y'all work on the east. He said, do everything but the gate. I'll put the gate on. From sun up to nightfall, they work. Nobody complained. Sounds different, don't it? Everybody working on the wall and nobody's complaining. Some folks are working in the church, but everybody's complaining. Their unified effort bring divine power and world-transforming moves of God to the earth. That's what it is when you have teamwork. When you have teamwork, then guess what? God can get involved. See, in the book of Acts, it talks about the upper room experience. But the upper room experience didn't happen until everybody got on what? One accord. Until the whole team got together and got on one accord, they said that's when they heard from heaven. Nehemiah knew that he had to keep everybody as a team in order to get the work done. Teamwork. Teamwork builds faith. But I know we just don't want to understand. But see, the thing about teamwork is this. When you have teamwork, this is three things I want to throw at you that help you understand what it's about teamwork. Three distractions that pull you away from teamwork. Distractions discussed as opportunities. When people come to you and try to tell you about another opportunity to get you away from your team, they try to sell you something better. But this is what I want you to remember. Say no to the good things. It's a good things keep us from the best things. Good things keep us from the best things. Whatever God has called you to build it to the best of your ability with all your heart. Distractions discussed as opportunities. When people come and tell you that you don't belong at that church, you need to go to this church, but they don't have nothing to show you for that church, but it's just a distraction to get you out of this church so you can't be a part of this team. This is what we are facing every day. You look around and you want to know why the team is starting to dwindle down, because the teamwork is being opened up to the outside distraction. But then it also brings us to the second point. Criticism from others. Those who are doing the least usually criticize the most. But this is the thing I want you to remember. You are not accountable to your critics. You are accountable to the one who called you to the wall he wanted you to build. In other words, the person that caused you to have that vision, to be an entrepreneur, to be great, to be on that team where y'all have teamwork in order to be champions, that's who you owe all the critics to. That person that's standing alone beside you that don't do nothing but talk about you when you're not around them, you remember this same thing, a dog that bring a bone is a dog that'll carry a bone. Paul wrote this. He said, faithful is he who calls you and who also will bring it to pass. 1 Thessalonians 5:24. I asked you in the beginning, were you a good teammate? Did you have the necessity to consider yourself good teammate in order to have good teamwork? Look around yourself today and ask yourself, what am I doing in the church to be a good teammate? How can my skills help grow the church ministry with my individual talents? But this is the last thing. When you're dealing with building your wall, the fear of the unknown. people try to intimidate you, you win the battle of fear by staying focused on what you knew should happen, not what must happen. It's your job to stay on the wall. It's God's job to help you to build it. Trust him with tomorrow. Keep building today. We always hear the thing when they say Rome wasn't built in a day. The pastor or the preacher can't stand behind a bookboard and say, members in the wheel field today. Blessed, everybody saved at the same time. Come, everybody rush to the altar to be delivered. But when we take our individual talents, we put them together, we join this team, we put the work together to have teamwork, that's when we become champions. This quote says, talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence win championships. Michael Jordan. Henry Ford said, if everyone is moving forward together, then success takes care of itself. The glory of teamwork. But this one right here says, it got me because it said, teamwork is the ability to work together toward a common vision, the ability to direct individual accomplishment toward organizational objectives. It is the fuel that allows common people to obtain uncommon results. Andrew Carnegie. The glory of teamwork. But this is what I want you to remember. This is what I want my champion family to remember. The strength of the team is each individual member. The strength of each member is the team. Phil Jackson. All of us are great as Christians. But all of us are greater as a team. Teamwork is something that we got to understand, we got to have. Husband and wife, children, we that team. You know how everybody say, my family, we that number one team? The same thing you say about your family, your wife, your children being the number one team, it got to be the same thing as a Christian, that your church is the number one team. So the same way when your pastor and your first lady, they come together as mother and father to be the head of this family, we got to put our work in, put the team together, to have teamwork, to show them that y'all work wasn't in vain. I'm going to leave you with this. When Jesus built this team, Jesus called out individuals to put together for his team. But when he called out individuals, Jesus still had a place where he needed to call out amongst the group. He still called out individuals to be different leaders. Peter, James, John. Jesus called them out amongst the disciples to go with him for a closer walk with thee. Just because the pastor doesn't call you out individually, you're still part of the team. So don't get in your feelings because he didn't call you out. Get in your feelings because you didn't give it everything you had. So when we started looking out to blame other people, look in to blame yourself. I'm only one individual, and I can talk about me because I like me. But when things don't go right in this church, I don't look to blame nobody. I try to figure out how to do it myself. That's not my job, but guess what? As a teammate, I will help where I need it. Whether it's parking cars, cleaning bathrooms, picking up trash, I will help wherever I'm needed to get the team together. I've been coaching all my life. And the first thing I do as a coach, I always go and I establish that I'm the head of this team. We got rules, we got guidelines. You're going to follow these rules and guidelines if you want to be on this team. I got an individual that can do this, one that's good at this, one that is great at this, one that is even better at this. But what I do is I put everybody together, and we all work out. And those that I called out that were good at their position, they should be leaders to others so they can get to where they're trying to be. But when everybody works together, teamwork brings championship. Teamwork in the church brings salvation. But if you don't have teamwork, you have individual Christian talent in your church. But we go back and we say talent wins your games. Teamwork wins championship. Working with each other builds camaraderie, fellowship, brotherhood, and an impactful army. That's what Nehemiah had to get the Jews to understand. And building this wall, it wasn't about the building the wall. It was about getting your faith to be another place where God knew it could be. And God knew that Nehemiah was the one to go help the Jews build their faith. And they did. Nehemiah took those Jews and they went and built the walls in 52 days. 52 days they built the walls back in Jerusalem. Dealing with opposition. See, your opposition might not be Sanballat and Tobias. Your opposition might be your sister or your best friend. Your opposition might be a member that you used to be with at a church four churches ago. But I stand before you today, the glory of teamwork, and I ask the question, what team are you going to be on? God gave us a choice, a good or evil. Which way you want to go? Choose the team that you want to play on.
You've just had an experience with champions, and we are so glad that you tuned in today. Let's continue to honor God through our commitment to give. There are 4 ways to give. You can give online via Cash App at $Champions for Christ. Next, you can give online at www.championsforchristim.org. Lastly, you can give during service or on our mobile app available in the Apple and Google Play stores. Please be sure to tune in each and every week to our online broadcast. Encourage others to tune in with you. Remember, we are champions because we are champions for Christ.